Hi, I'm Stacy with Easy Design Resources, and today we're starting a short series that I'm calling Merch Design Hot Rod Edition. In this series, I'll be creating designs from start to finish and explaining my process and techniques along the way. Also, if you want to expand your design skills, head over to my website, easydesignresources.com/free workshop, and get my free Intro to Illustrator workshop. This is an in-depth walkthrough for setting up your workspace and understanding the tools and effects at your disposal. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button for good measure. Let's get to it. All right, today I've got some sketches I've already created. So what I'm going to do is just drag that into my workspace. Let me grab that real quick. The business is called Classic Corner Garage. Just center it in my document real quick. So I'm going to change my document to 12 by 16 just to kind of cover the chest area of a t-shirt. I'm going to copy that to delete it. Go to layers. I'm going to create a new layer. Just down here, just click the plus. Command F to paste it in front. Drag it down below my original layer. I'm going to double click it and tell it to be a template. It's going to dim at 50%. And what this means is that when I'm in preview mode, I can see it. And then when I'm in wireframe mode, I can still see it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is create my circle. So I'm going to go here in the middle. Not sure how big that needs to be, but I'm going to hold Shift and Option, drag that out, and I'll go ahead and bring it out to 11 inches. When you have Smart Guides, which is Command U, then as you're dragging and as you're working on stuff, it gives you your dimensions. So I got rid of that stroke because I want to make it exactly 11 inches. And I go over to Transform, click on Height or Width since it is the same in both directions, and I just arrow keyed down just to get it exactly at 11. All right, going to Shift X to move that fill to the stroke, and then I'm going to change the color of that to black. I'll typically work 100% in black and white through the entire part of the design and only start adding color after everything feels and looks right. What this does is it eliminates having to create effects and having to do things to make it look and feel right by making sure it looks and feels right from the get-go. All right, I'm going to copy and paste this circle in front and bring it in. And I'm going to actually eliminate that stroke. So just select it and then you can type X. X is going to toggle which is active, whether it be your stroke or your fill. And then once you have it active, then / the same key that also has question mark, will wipe out whatever you have. So if I go to wireframe mode, Command Y, you can see we still have our template. So I'm going to come in and just add the text. I had the idea of classic being in a script, corner and garage being in some kind of a sans serif or block font. So we'll just take that and drag that out a little bit. I'm also going to center it and then center it on my document. If I select it, hold Shift and Option, I can drag it down and it's going to duplicate it. And I'll do that again for the next two lines. So I'm going to go corner, I'm going to go all caps. Garage, I'm also going to go all caps. All right, so I'll just drag that out a little bit bigger. I'm not going to use this font here at all. I'm also going to hide that circle. Grab all of these. Let's see. All right, part of the concept, it looks like, was to have a rectangle across here. So I'll drag that. I'm going to copy my circle, paste it in front of that rectangle, select them both, and Command 7 is going to create a mask. And then I'm going to send that to back, which is Command Shift bracket left. Type in A so I can select the individual elements as I wish. And then I'm just going to change that color to white. And I'll change that color. Nope, I'll bring this. I'm going to make this smaller. Let me first make sure it's in the middle of my page. Okay. All right. We'll go back to wireframe mode. I'll still have to work some of this stuff out. All right, so for classic, I'm going to go through my fonts. I haven't picked anything yet, so I'm doing all of this right here with you. Here's a cool one. This is one I use kind of a lot when I want a clean but very legible script font. And it also has kind of a cool hot rod look to it. So we'll leave that right there. And then corner and garage, I'm probably going to use the same font. One font that I like to use a lot when I'm doing something that I might want compressed is DIN. And I've got the pack that I bought from the Future, and it's the URW DIN. Go with bold. And they have a condensed version. I think I want to use the condensed, so let me find that again. So if you start typing the letters of the font that you know you want to use, or even the name of the font in Illustrator, it'll bring you right to it. So DIN condensed. And then we've got all the different options that they gave us in that pack, which is great. I don't want it too intense. I feel like black might just be a little bit too heavy, so I'm going to go bold. All right, come over here. And if we go back to our reference, let me hide that real quick. The C and the R are full height, and the other letters here are shorter. So let's bring that back out. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to reduce the size. So we're at 241 for the whole piece. So we'll just see what 200 looks like. That's kind of a significant percentage of decrease. That's not too bad. Holding Shift and Alternate, I can just grab those handlebars on the outside of the selection to pull it out proportionally and centered. And then if I bring my Classic down, I'm actually going to want that to overlap. There we go. And then let's get rid of that black background just for now. Go back to Swatches and make that black. Okay. I'm going to bring those out a little bit. Nope. Bring it in a little. Type the V again, grab that handlebar, and just pull it out. Okay. And then I want garage to also be condensed. What that does is it gives it a little bit more body, a little more presence and height without it being squished or difficult to read. Okay. All right. Now I like that Classic, but I'm going to move it over, move a copy of it over, and I'm just going to go through and see what else I have that could work. I'd like to find something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit less refined. So there's the one that we had, Hectonia Hand Personal. I probably got that font from dafont.com. It's a great resource for free use fonts. Not everyone that they have on there is free use for commercial. Most of them, or a lot of them, are free for personal use. There are some cool baseball fonts I've gotten here that might also be pretty sharp for this use. That one's kind of cool. I'm going to make a copy of that. Now I've got to remember where that was. That was Back Soda. Okay. Some of these fonts get to where the word looks a little bit weird. So I'm trying to avoid anything that doesn't look great. There's some of our baseball fonts. Not quite rough enough. We want something that has a classy look, but not too effeminate, which a lot of script fonts tend to fall under that, where they'll look more like what you would use on a formal document or invitation for a wedding or that kind of thing. And so we want to avoid using anything like that, while still having that cool thing that script fonts can bring to a design. One thing I love looking for in this kind of stuff is contrast. So I'll use a script font with a block font. I'll use a distress element within a non-distressed design. Doing these things just to create contrast so that your eye has things to focus on. Even if you have a design that's just one color, you can have interest and have different contrasting elements. And fonts is one of my favorite ways to do that. That's a great one. All right, I think we've got enough here. Let me move that. I'm going to use this one. This font is Back Soda. I'm going to copy it, double click that one, paste. I feel like that font, I can make it a little bit bigger since it's the first name in the business. We don't want it to be secondary in its presentation. And then what I'm going to do is copy it and paste it behind. So that's Command C, Command B. And then I'm going to add a stroke of white. Go back to swatches, click at white, get up. Okay. So what happens is, what happened here is, as I typed in the word classic, I selected it, I held Shift and Option, I dragged it down. What happens when you do that is your copy will be in front. When I went to add the stroke for classic, even the word classic was behind corner, so it wasn't going to do what I needed, so I needed to bring that to the front. All right, so now we've got it selected. Now as we're increasing that stroke, you can see it showing up. All right, I think that works pretty well. Also, the way we have it here is classic fits between the C and the R. It's different enough that you're not reading it funny, but it's close enough that it's you're able to read it as it is intended. I'm going to move that up just a little bit. Oops. All right. Okay, so classic is good, corner is good, garage, I'm either going to want to change it to an outline or I want to gap it. Just increasing the space between the letters. That's at 340, let's try 300. And then I'm going to change the font from bold to light. Bring it in a little bit. So this gives us hierarchy where classic is the stylized charactered font, corner is the more heavy bodied, and then garage is thin and light down at the bottom. So I'm loving how all this is going. So I'm going to select the circle. Nope, actually, let's bring that. What happens if we make our text white right here? Classic corner. It feels a little tight. We don't want the box around the text to be too close to the text because it doesn't allow it space to breathe. And all right. Also, I need to make sure that the word corner is centered, and you can see as we're bringing this rectangle down, it's hitting the top of corner, but there's still space at the bottom. So the Command Y, kind of zoom up here, and then I'm going to select just corner and just arrow key it down until it's centered. And that looks a lot better right there. It's difficult to center fonts because depending on how the font was made, you can see we have this bounding box that goes around the font and it is not centered. So in an attempt to center it in your document, if you come up and you hit the vertical alignment center, it will do it according to the bounding box, but not necessarily according to the characters of the font. All right, so since that is there, we have a good amount of space, top and bottom. I'm going to pull the word garage down. The next piece we need to do is I've got a set of cross wrenches up top. So let's create that graphic. Let me see. I'm going to create a new layer just so I can get rid of the work that we've created so far. All right, so at this point, I went on for the next 5 minutes creating these wrenches without using a reference. And it wasn't until I got done that I realized that it was not what I wanted. It didn't look quite right. And so I just went on a quick Google search. I found a wrench and I pulled it in. And this is where we're at now. There we go. Just drag that over. Now I really should have done this first. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and leave our original stuff just for reference. I'm going to bring up my rulers, Command R, and drag it over next to the wrench. Type in R for my rotation tool and just click right along where that guide and the edge of the tool meet. And then just kind of increment it until it appears to be aligned. Happy with that. So we're going to come down here and make our circle. I'm going to Shift X to make that just an outline. So while the reality is a bolt is going to have 6 sides, but the wrench has all these sections. So which tool would we use for that? Probably the star tool. And let's count them real quick. Just make a little mark right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's delete that real quick. Click here. We've got 12 points. We can do the radius. Let's go 0.2 and radius 2.16. We want it to just be barely different. So that looks pretty close to what we're looking for. Actually pretty good. All right, not quite. Let me delete that. Let's do it again. This time we're going to go 1/8. We don't need it to be heavily shaped. We just want it to look like the wrench, and that looks great. Type in I so we can duplicate that pattern. Let's bring this in. Let's see. Bring this one in. Oops. Okay. Center these two. Boom, boom. And then this needs to come out. And then just for the sake of having it more accurate, we're going to just try to align it. And type in A for your direct selection tool, and you can see we get that little round dot. I can't zoom up to make it any bigger, but you can see it a little more contrasted down here. And then as we pull on that, it's going to round those corners just like the wrench. So there we have it. So what we want to do is I'm going to make this inside piece white. Make the outside black. So I just did Shift X to toggle that fill and that stroke. I am going to make this a little bit bigger, the outside diameter, and group it. All right. Now the other thing I noticed is that this end of our wrench is not aggressive in its sexticon, 6-sided polygon, and it's at an angle. So I'm going to come up here, grab that Polygon tool again, click right here, 6 sides, great. Type in R, and then rotate that to try to get it facing the same angle. All right. So we're a little bit off, but not too bad. Just want to drag that out a little bit. We will eventually use the Pathfinder and just wipe it out. But for this right now, we'll leave it right where it's at. Make it a little bit smaller. All right, and then I want to select these specific corners down here and then round them up. However, that one, let's see. All right, so let's just kind of seat this down a little bit. It's got us snapping to grid. I'm going to change that under view. Snap to glyph. No, let's get rid of that. There we go. We got a little more movement. All right, I just want to click this, drag it up to right there so that our wrench will be more anatomically correct. And then as I've got those corners selected, I'll drag those in. And you can see we're getting a lot closer to what we wanted here. And then as I drag that one, we are near perfect, just with a couple of quick, easy tools. All right, I'm going to Shift X to get a fill, and I'm going to color that white. And let's see, I guess for the sake of just making this accurate, we can just click it right along the path of our reference. And connect those two so we have a solid path. Make it black. Type in A, select in the middle, and what that'll do is it will select all anchor points, and then Command bracket left. So now we have the top end of our wrench put together right. The back end of our wrench is put together right. And let's just see what happens here. Bring them down. Type in I for the eyedropper tool. So what we'll do is we will select these top elements, hit S for the scale tool, and just drag them out. And then just click the one that went beyond the parameter and drag it forward. Come down here, we want to drag that down. We also want to drag, let's see, we'll use the reshape tool right here to bring that section in. Type in A, and then we can kind of just adjust it a little bit more. There we go. Go back to the reshape tool for the other side. We want to be along that same spot. All right. So now that gave us an immediate radius into the open-ended part of that wrench. Come down here. So like these two anchor points, type the S, click and drag out until we get it about right, and then click and drag down. Now it's going to go over the open part of our wrench, but we'll solve that in a minute. All right, what we want to do is drag that down so that it keeps that path straight. The same on this side. The same up top. All right, and then go back to the reshape tool and find it right there. And then come down here. There we go. Now you can see against the black background that as we get farther away from it being vertically aligned, you get the steps, kind of that jagged edge of the green that is our layer color. But we get it close. That's good right there. Grab that bar, drag it forward, drag it up holding Shift, and that will align it vertically. And do the same on the other side. All right, now we can hide that. And we have an anatomically correct wrench. Send that to the back. And everything we got going on here is accurate. So we'll group it. We're going to leave it in place. Drag it over here. I'm going to group these, select these, and hide them just to get them out of the way for now. And bring this in. Now, one thing I'm afraid to see, and I don't want to see, is the elements of this wrench get so small that you lose the effect of kind of the crossbone styling. So come in here. I do want to make it a little bit bigger. We can see from our original idea here, it's quite a bit bigger. So I'm just going to center it over that sketch, type the S, click down here in the middle of that circle, holding Shift. I'm going to enlarge that graphic. Using the direct selection tool, hit A on your keyboard, just click and drag over all the anchor points on the top portion, and then just select any of them. And then once you have it selected, hold Shift and bring it down. You see we're getting kind of a miniaturized wrench. So that's a lot closer to what I think we wanted in the beginning. And also let's make sure the opening of that wrench is suiting the box end. So just rotate that real quick and just make sure we don't want to have disproportionate wrench elements. And that looks pretty dang close. All right. Get rid of that. Okay, so I'm happy with the wrench. I think it's a great representation of what we were after. So selecting the shape and the open part of the wrench, type in A, and then select the shape behind it. I'm going to go to Pathfinder, and we're going to go right here to -front. So that just got rid of it. And then I'm going to do the same down here. Nope. So down here, I'm going to copy the outer edge, and I'm going to paste it in front of the handle part. Make it a little bit bigger, just so it has a little more presence in our design. And then holding Shift and selecting the white area, I'm going to do the same thing. All right, now we can see we got a little bit of a conflict right here. So I'm just selecting that line, type a P for the pen tool, hovering over that path, it's going to give me a plus mark, which means it's going to add an anchor point. Type in A, and I can just click and drag that path up, and then as you can see, it's now out of the way. And then what I want to do is select the whole thing and go to Pathfinder and Unite. So now we have one solid graphic. So now we learned from before that we want to rotate that a solid 45 degrees. It's going to give us the best overall look. I'm going to copy, paste in front, type in O, and let it do its thing. It's going to go vertical. If we did horizontal, it would flip it kind of like a pair of scissors. We're going to go like this. And then I do want to move it over a little bit so that it's a little more bottom heavy in its intersection. Let's group it and center it in our document. All right, now I'm going to copy that, deselect that layer, go back to our design, paste it in front, Shift Option. Okay. I like the way it looks, but it's just a little bit crowded right there. I wonder if, let's make sure nothing's locked. I'm using the direct selection tool to select the word classic. I'm going to lock it, select the stroke, lock it, and then Command Option 2 will unlock everything, and then I can move them together. So if I make classic significantly bigger, I get a little bit more room for the wrenches. Now if let's see. Okay, so let me copy, delete, paste in front, and group. So now my relationship between the wrenches and the word classic will maintain their integrity. Okay. Command 0 will center your document in your window. And we just toggle here. We have Classic Corner Garage. We've got a start to something. Now that we've completed everything that we had in our sketch, now it's time to kind of start poking at it and see what we can really do with this piece. All right, so I'm going to just copy, paste in back that circle, bring it in. Now what you also want to keep in mind is when you change the scale of a circle, depending on what you have set up in your scale tool, it's going to either scale specific things or not scale. So we have it to scale corners and scale strokes and effects. That means that our outline got thinner as we dragged it in. So if we wanted to maintain that, then we would come back with our eyedropper tool and select that original stroke. We can see it's 15 point. That's not what I want to do. I just wanted to point that out and drag it out. Now this does give it kind of a cool detail. Let's get it back to that same size. So now it almost looks like instead of having two black lines, it looks like we have a thick black line and an inside white line. And that's kind of a cool look. We'll keep that. I'd almost like to add more content. So let me copy it, paste it in back, and bring it down, almost creating this space right here. I'm going to put text on this line. So let me copy it again. I'm going to hide it and paste it in back again. Holding Option, I'm going to click down here on this bottom anchor point, and that will give me a centered text on that path. Go to character, and we just want to make it a ton smaller. I'll go like 60 point. And for this purpose, I don't want to have any of that spacing between the letters. And then I think I'll also change that text to all caps. So go to type, change case, uppercase. Let's get away from condensed on this one. Oops. Go regular, and then a little bit smaller. Almost just adding a design detail. It'd be like tertiary content that isn't the first thing that you'll read. It won't even be the second thing. It might be the third or fourth thing that you read. So we're going to go right here, and we're going to change this stuff to restore, space, bullet, space, repair, space, bullet, space, customize. Oops. If you don't hold alternate when you hit that 8, you will get, oh wait a second. If you hold shift when you do the 8, you're going to get asterisk. All right. I like that. Let's select that line of text. It's a little more difficult the closer we get to classic. And then let's just space that out. Make it a little bit smaller. Space it out a little bit more. All right, that's pretty cool. Let me copy that and paste it in the front. And I want to double click the text tool, and I want to flip this. We got it on rainbow and baseline. We keep it just like that. Type in R, we can rotate it to the bottom. All right. And then go Command Y, we'll go wireframe mode, and then we can click and drag this until the outside of that baseline is with the top of our top text. And then type in I for eyedropper tool, Command Y. We select that text, it'll change it and adjust the size because it got a little bit bigger when we expanded it. All right, so word garage I want to bring in so that this content down here isn't running into it. We want to make sure that we've got enough room and breathing space around all of our design elements. So I'm going to go EST apostrophe D 2010 space bullet space Mesa AZ. All right. Now it feels a little bit spacious on the bottom. I'm not loving that. I could add an envelope effect to Garage, causing it to scoop down and fill that space. That's something I might consider doing. I can also make this bigger, and I can also change it to a bold. Now if I do that, I'm not going to want it gapped as much. Okay, we're just going to do a few changes here. The bottom and the top don't have to be identical. These details don't have to mimic each other exactly. What we're going for here is just an overall feel, an overall look. Bold is a little too much. We'll go to regular. Let's see what we have this one at. Regular. Okay. Now the downside with this stuff is that these tertiary elements of content, we don't want them to be too dominant. Okay, so let's copy and paste in back the next black outline that we've got and bring that in and see what happens if we try to add that. It gets a little snug, doesn't it? All right, I feel like this is getting to be a little bit overkill, so let me just hide it. And I wonder if Established 2010 Mesa, Arizona here is in our script. I wonder how that would look. So I'm going to copy this, paste it in front, and I'm going to move it over 12 inches just to get it scooted. Select that, type an I. I'm going to unlock, first I'll unlock my script, type the I, select that font, and it's way too big, so we'll bring it down to like 80. And then change it to title case. All right, I think that's kind of terrible. So we'll copy this, we can double click on the line that we're going to change, and then and just paste it. All right, I think that's a good first go. Bring that in a little bit, and then just make it a little bit larger. Now, when you're moving elements and you're holding Shift, if you're not moving them very far, it's going to have a tendency to want to pull 45 degrees left or 45 degrees right. So you kind of want to watch and make sure that the color of the layer over the element as it's showing you where it's going is not giving you shadows to the left or right. Put it right there. All right, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to take this design, we're going to add some color to it, and we're going to put it in a mock-up. The first thing I want to do is I want to grab my mock-up. This is also part of a free download you can get, links in the box below. It comes with some design templates and distress textures as well, which we will be adding to work in this series. Let me just grab that. All right, so if you hit that link down below, you're going to get these 9 free design templates that come with all the fonts you need. We've got 4 different distress textures and our mock-up. So I'm going to take that mock-up, I'm going to copy it, go ahead and close that file. Command 0, make sure my document is centered on my page here, and just create a new layer and paste that graphic for our mock-up. Fill up our space, center. All right, this mock-up offers you a header layer, which I'm going to get rid of. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just hide it. I won't need it for this design. The wrinkles are on their own layer, and the t-shirt color is right here. So let's go with the black. So when I do black, I want to go just shy of black. Go to the color, 95%. And then go back to our wrinkle layer and hit multiply. I got a little bit of room on that shirt color. If you get too close to black, you'll lose the definition of the wrinkles and everything. All right, so we'll come back. I'm going to go ahead and select this, group it, copy it, turn that layer off, and come up here. I'm going to paste it behind the wrinkles. Type a V to get my bounding box, get it centered, and then get it placed. With a design like this, you don't want it necessarily oversized print on the full front, typically 11 to 12 inches wide, which will be pretty close to oversized print. Let's go ahead and hide our wrinkles for now. Bring them back. I'm going to go ahead and delete that header. We want to make sure that everything here is locked, and the only thing that is active to be selected is our work. First thing we want to do is, being on a black shirt, we're going to change our tertiary and some secondary text here. I'm going to change that to white. Swatches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a spot white. So I'm going to select the white, and I'm going to hit this new swatch button here, and I'm going to change it to say spot white. When you're doing screen printing, everything needs to be set up in spot colors. If you're not doing screen printing, it's a good exercise to go through anyway, just to understand the full potential of the program. And then I'm going to just drag this cyan over so that I can see everything that has been affected with that color, and say OK. All right, and then this text I'm going to change to black, and we want that to be the same as our t-shirt black. So I'm going to hit that, also create a new swatch. I'm going to go T color black, and I think it was 96% if I'm remembering right, and change that to spot, say OK. That looks right. Okay. I want to lock the word classic, and then the outline behind it I want to change to that new spot color we just made. unlock. Let's see, let me hide our wrinkles and then change the shirt color. Double check that, 97%. Okay, so I'm going to select our swatch color and then bump that to 97. There we go. All right, and with this kind of design, I think one of the things that looks cool is red and white on black. I've always been a fan of that look. So we're going to make it red. I don't like that red, but I'm going to select it, start with it, and we'll go spot red. Change that to spot color, and then I'm going to actually just bring some black in, about 15%. Say OK. You can see it made it a little bit darker. All right. So what I just found here is that that rectangle I colored was the one that I had dragged in to center the word corner. We don't need that anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And then lock that text, Command 2, select that background, and then change that color. All right, now these stroke lines, they're going to look best either white or red. And the wrenches, let's see, what can we do with our wrenches? We'll go white. Okay. So these both don't look great red. Let's see what happens. Now that I've got it kind of put together, I'm going to go ahead and double click the white swatch, and I'm going to pull that cyan all the way out. We don't need to see it in that format anymore. All right, that's kind of cool. If I bring our wrinkles up, now they're over the shirt, over the design. That's got a pretty cool look. Let's see. All right, so one thing I do want to do, let me hide that. Let me bring this swatch up. I need to change the color so I can see where it is. There we go. It is up on top just where I wanted it. I'm going to copy it, paste it in back, type a V to get control of where this is going, and pull it out a little bit, and then make it black, the color of our shirt. So now we have kind of this shape that we created with the bar that goes behind the word corner and the inside line on our circle. Looking at it, I feel like, let me see, all right, lock our shadows. I feel like our wrenches are just a little too present. Okay, what happens if we outline them? Bring that down. Oh, that's cool. So we outline it and brought the stroke down a little bit. And then I filled the one that I wanted on top with the shirt color. And so that gave us a pretty solid look. One more thing I'd like to try. I'm going to do an effect on this text, kind of giving Classic a little more presentation. So I'm going to copy it, paste it in front of everything, just for the purposes of doing this effect. Convert it to outlines, which is Command-Shift-O. Unite. Oops. Command minus or hyphen key will zoom out a little bit for you. I'm going to do Command 8 and make sure that it is a compound path. Shift X to change it from a fill to an outline. And let's just put it red for a second here. And then on our stroke, we have adjustments where we can have it be the stroke is centered on the line. It is just inside or just outside. So for the purpose of this, I want to put it just inside. I want to make it a little bit bigger. Not that big. I'll go 1.5. And then I want to round it. So the corners and endpoints are rounded. 1.25. All right, and then I'm going to go to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke. I want to come up here and make sure Unite is hit so that every element of this is compound. Command 8. And then I'm going to do, let's see. All right, then I want to take the outer edge of that selection and that's also going to be the inside of the circle elements. I want to select all of those with my direct selection tool. Just typing in A and then holding alternate and shift will allow me to select contiguous pieces. All right, I hit delete, and you can see everything we have left is the fill. And then I'm going to click selecting it. I'm going to hold shift and option and drag down and to the right just a little. And I'm going to color that white. You can see it kind of gave us a bubbly effect. Let's copy that and put it behind our texture and in front of the art. Okay, I don't love that. Sometimes when we add these kind of bevels, it doesn't have the desired effect. So let's move it up the other way. All right, that's exactly what I'm going for. Another thing I want to do is select that text, select that layer, and then I'm just going to select it, hold shift and option and drag down and to the right. That's going to give a little bit more dimension to the word classic and set it off of that background a little bit more. Arrow key down and to the right as needed, just to help fill that out. And then let's look at it and see if we make that bevel black, the shirt color, how that looks. Sometimes having color present in too many places is just overkill. And sometimes it's just what you needed. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So I feel like the word corner is lacking a little bit of pizzazz, so I'm going to copy and paste in back, and I'm going to add a white stroke to the word corner. And we don't want it super heavy, we just want to give it enough body to stand out and to be one of the first things that we read when we look at this design. All right, we're going to select our t-shirt wrinkles and the background and lock them. Type a V for our main selection tool, click and drag across our design, and then we want to come up here and just get it centered as best we can, and then pull it down a little bit. You don't want the design to be choking you when you're wearing it. You don't want it to have that feeling, and you don't want it to look like it's too small or too big or too high or too low. So typically with a design like this that is round and full, I'll go just a couple of inches, 2.5 or 3 inches below the collar. That seems to be the sweet spot for the top of the design. And like I said, 11 to 12 inches for the width is kind of the sweet spot there. I know this was a long one, and I'd like to thank you for hanging out. Don't forget, if you want to expand your design skills, head over to my website, easydesignresources.com/free workshop, to get my free Intro to Illustrator workshop. This course is an in-depth walkthrough for setting up your workspace and understanding the tools and effects at your disposal. There's a link in the box below. Also, if you don't currently have Adobe Illustrator, there's a link down there where you can get your first month free. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button for good measure. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you in the next one.